The 2025 summer transfer window has now closed, and Derby County have got it absolutely spot on. The Rams have seen 14 players depart the club, as well as 13 new players be brought in. 9 players have left due to their contracts expiring, 4 players have departed the club on loan, and 1 player has left for a transfer fee. John Eustace has also bolstered his squad with 13 additions, 5 players joining on loan, 4 players signing for a fee, and 4 players joining on a free transfer. Now in this video, I'm going to be doing a comprehensive discussion about Derby County's departures and incomings and how really it's going to affect the team for this new championship season. And as I said at the start of the video, I think Derby County have got it absolutely spot on with the signings that they've made, and also changing the squad with some players departing. Now, we'll start off talking about the departures. As I mentioned, 14 players have departed the club this summer. Now, in terms of the players who've left upon the expiry of their contract, we've got Tyrese Forner, who left and has now joined Northampton Town, a midfielder who joined us from rivals Nottingham Forest, but was never really able to break into that first team squad. And then we've also got Sonny Bradley, who now plays for League One Lincoln City, a player who towards the end of the promotion campaign really started to become a first team regular, and League One is probably a fair level for him at the moment. Connor Washington, the experienced forward who we rarely ever saw in a Derby County shirt, is now playing for Matlock Town, probably towards the end of his career now and looking to wind down. You've also got Tom Barkhazen, who now plays for Barrow, which for me was quite a shock signing that he's gone to Barrow. I would have thought he would have gone to a League One club. He always showed quality whenever he played for Derby County, but in the Championship, he probably wasn't that Championship quality. There's also Kamar Roof, who was training with the squad for experience and was called upon a couple of times, but is probably looking for a new club at the moment. I'm not sure whether he still is training with Derby County. He was training with us this summer, whether he still is at the moment, but he's obviously without a contract. There's also the young goalkeeper Luthra, who joined us as a third choice, got some good experience out on loan at the back end of last season, and has probably left now to go and find himself first team football. We've also got Eric Peters, who I think featured once for us for a couple of minutes at the end of one game. I could be wrong there. And we've also got Jeff Hendrick, another one of those experienced players who was training with us for fitness and was hoping to find a contract but hasn't with Derby County. And we've also got Nathaniel Mendez-Lang, a player who across the 3 seasons we were with Derby County, I would say he's one of our best wingers I've seen in the last 10 years. A player who could always produce a moment of magic, even at Championship level. He did it late on away at West Brom, and one of his most memorable goals, I think, that he scored for us. He joined MK Dons on a free going down to League 2, where he probably could have got a move at League 1 level, but linking up with former Derby County manager Paul Warne, where he plays him in his correct position, knows the formation, and also he's probably got the best football out of Mendez-Lang consistently. We saw him break the assist record with Derby County in our promotion season, and I'm sure he's going to have a great season at MK Dons there. Now, the one player who departed for a fee was Kane Wilson. I'm not sure what the fee is, it wasn't really reported anywhere, but he joined MK Dons linking up like Nathaniel Mendez-Lang with former Derby County manager Paul Warne, and I think a lot of people were surprised to see Kane Wilson leave so late on in the window, but with Derby County signing Max Johnson, the highly rated right back, clearly Kane Wilson's position wasn't going to guarantee him regular first team football, and at 25 years old he's at a stage in his career now where he just really needs that regular first team football. And I think what surprised most people was him dropping down to League 2 with MK Dons. Now, I would say that Kane Wilson's good enough to compete for a place in the Championship. I think on the ball he's a really exciting player, and I think he was looked upon really fondly by Derby County fans because he was a player at a time when creativity and excitement probably lacked in the team quite a bit. When we were in League 1, we'd often win games 1-0, 2-1. It wasn't the most exciting football, but whenever Kane Wilson got the ball, you just knew he could create something. His dribbling was up there with one of the best I've seen at the club. So it's a shame to see him go, but MK Dons linking up with former Derby County manager Paul Warne, it's a good move for him. You know, we don't know the ins and outs of the transfer, but playing under Paul Warne, he's going to get played in his preferred position. He's going to be playing in a tactical style that he knows. I'm sure he's going to be in League 1 next season. I don't think with the quality MK Dons have in their team, they're going to stick around in League 2 for much longer. It's a crucial move for him at this stage in his career, but I'm sure he's going to find his feet there, and he'll be in the Championship in next to no time. Derby County also saw 4 players depart on loan. The most recent player who departed on loan was Kenzo Houdmine, who's gone to Holland to play for Go Ahead Eagles on loan until the end of the season. And this is another move that I think's gone under the radar a little bit. And considering the style of football that John Eustace is trying to play, where we're looking to bring in more technical footballers to play the ball on the floor, it's strange that we've let Kenzo Houdmine go out on loan for the season. But at the back end of last season, John Eustace never preferred him. And I know we were trying to grind out games and we needed that physicality, and it's obvious that Kenzo lacks that. But on the ball, technically, I do think he's one of the best at the club. But he's in search of first team football. He needs regular football, and this could be a really good loan move for him, especially with Go Ahead Eagles competing in Europe this season. He's going to be playing a high quality of football, and hopefully he'll come back to Derby County in the summer and be ready to challenge for a first team place, because I still think he's definitely got a future at Derby County and he's got a high ceiling of potential. We also saw experienced midfielder Ben Osborne depart on loan to join Stockport County, which I would say is a good move for him. He's never really been able to hold down a first team spot at Derby County. I think injuries have held him back, and also with the style of play and the change in manager last season, it really held him back a little bit. He couldn't break into that team. Yes, he didn't show too much quality when he did play, but there is a player there. He's played in the Premier League. He's been a part of some fantastic teams, and a move to Stockport County in League One, linking up with his former Sheffield United teammate Ollie Norwood to get his football back on track and also be a part of a really good team now. Will be pushing for that top six in League One. We also saw DeJean Brown leave Derby County on loan until the end of the season to join Port Vale in League One, with former Derby County player Darren Moore as manager. And I think this is a really good move for DeJean Brown. I think Derby County fans have been crying out for DeJean Brown to go out on loan and get some more first team experience. We saw him about 2 years ago go on loan to Gateshead in the second half of the season, and he was quality for them in the National League. And to go and get experience at a high level in League One could be really promising for him. If he can find goals and assists and build up his play a little bit more, I think he could definitely challenge for a place in Derby County's team. And we also saw Jake Rooney leave to go on loan to Barnsley. I think this is a fantastic move for Jake Rooney, a player who, when he was first brought into the club, was getting minutes under Paul Warne at the start of our promotion season. He looked really good. He was one of the first names on the team sheet, and I was really excited to see how he was going to develop. But unfortunately, injuries held him back, and over the last 2 years his appearances have been limited. He's only just come back to fitness. I think he's looked okay in the 2 cup games that he's played in, away at West Brom and Burnley especially, looked a little bit more competent and like could be a decent squad option either at centre back or right back if needed. But going on loan to Barnsley, a team who are going to be pushing for that top end of League One, could be a really promising move for him, and I'm sure if he does well there, he's going to be knocking on the door to come into the starting 11 at Derby County, considering the ageing and experience of our defence. In terms of the outgoings, I'm quite pleased. I think we've let players go who probably aren't up to championship quality. A lot of that League One team was still in and around the squad, and we've had to move out players to trim down the team to that 25-man squad. As I think going into deadline day or a day or two before, we had about 30 players, and I think we have to trim it down to 25 or something like that. So it's good to see us be able to make those decisions and allow players to go and get minutes at different teams. And I think some of the players that have left are definitely more experienced and winding down their career, but also we've been able to loan out some of our younger players to go and get some minutes that they crucially need for their own development. And I think that's been spot on by Derby County. And now in terms of the incomings, as I mentioned, we've seen 13 players signed for the Rams, including a player who was obviously on loan with us last season in David Ozo, re-signed back on loan from Crystal Palace. I think it's a really good move for both parties. David Ozo needs minutes. Obviously injuries held him back last season, but when he did play for us, he was one of our best players. He was one of the first names on the team sheet, and he was dominating games. I look back to that game which he scored in at the start of last season, Bristol City at home. I think that was such a complete performance from David Ozo. He ran the game, he was dominant, and hopefully if he can stay fit this season, he'll be able to do the same for us. We've seen Derby sign 4 free transfers in Danny Barr, Andreas Weimann, O'Donnell, as well as Rhian Brewster. Now, Weimann and Barb signed early on the window, and it made clear that these players would be squad options. They have been called upon quite early on in this season. I think you've seen, considering that the last stages of the career, there is a couple of mistakes, and it would probably be best if we bring them off the bench. I think Andreas Weimann has looked sharp when he's come on and played. I think his reading of the game is clear to see, and he's an experienced championship player. And as a squad option for Derby County, it's just important that we build out that squad with championship experienced players, rather than when you look back to this time last season, when we had players who were unproven and also mainly spent the majority of their career in League One. We just need that championship quality in and around the team. Danny Bart's the same. He played a number of games last season for Blackburn Rovers, And he averaged, I think, around an average rating of 7.1 each game, which is phenomenal for a player at the age that he is now. And he's definitely got the ability to compete and try and start for places in this team. I think he has looked a little bit shaky in the opening couple of games, but like I say, he's joining a new team, a new environment, and he's more of a squad option, really. So I don't think we're going to see him called upon for full 90-minute matches as much as we have done at the start of this season, considering the injuries that we have. We've also signed Richard O'Donnell, a free transfer from Blackpool after his contract expired. He's come in to replace Loughborough as a third-choice goalkeeper and probably to push the younger players as well. This is a decent move, Derby. We need experienced goalkeepers at the club, and really, as a third-choice option, it's not a bad pickup at all. And a really exciting transfer for me was Ryan Brewster signing on a free after leaving Sheffield United. He was signed Sheffield United from Liverpool for, I think, an estimated around 23 million about 4 years ago. It's a phenomenal transfer fee, and he never really lived up to it, if I'm going to be completely honest. Injuries held him back, and he often struggled for goals and assists in the Sheffield United team. But at Derby County, he's really hit the ground running. As of recording, he scored away at Ipswich and also brought us a penalty at that game, and I thought he was fantastic in that match. His technical ability is there to see. He's had very good seasons in the Championship with Swansea City, had a lot of promise with Liverpool. He's also got a Champions League medal as well, and that quality is there to see. And I think you can see John Eustace is trying to build out this team with quality that could push at the top end of the division and players who could compete in teams at the top end of the division. And it's going to take a while to build that. We're only laying the foundations at the moment, but Brewster on a free transfer is a brilliant move for both parties, really. Ryan Brewster can look to get his career back to those higher levels that he wants to and almost use Derby County as a stepping stone. And on a free transfer, it's only really positive for Derby County, because if we are able to sell Brewster in the future, it will be for a profit, which I think is really positive as well. Now, Derby County have also signed 4 players for transfer fees. The first one of those was Colton Morris from Luton Town for a reported around $500,000. That's what it says his relegation release clause was estimated at. And what a bargain for Derby County. A player who's been prolific in this division previous for Luton Town. He's also was decently prolific in the Premier League with Luton as well in their relegation season. Now, I understand last season his numbers weren't that great, but a part of a relegated team, nobody's really going to be at the top end of the division in terms of stats. But 4 goals in 4 matches for Colton Morris shows what a prolific goal scorer he can be and how clinical he can be in front of goal. Derby County, we lacked that finishing last season. Jerry Yates was a decent striker, but never really had that striker's instinct to be in the right place at the right time. And we needed that clinical striker when we're in a team that doesn't create too many clear-cut opportunities each game. But he's done really well in Derby County's team. For a £500,000 signing, it could be a really important one for Derby County's season. We've also obviously signed Patrick Adjumong, the USA men's international striker from Charlotte FC from the MLS, for around £5 million estimated. Obviously, there's a lot of add-ons in that. He's currently injured, so it's hard to say how much of an impact he's going to have. But with the hype that came around when he joined, I think he's going to be an important player. It'd be interesting to see how John Eustace lines up the team, whether we do play 2 up top with Morris and Adjumong. You imagine with the fee that we signed Adjumong, we'll be looking to get some value out of that transfer as soon as possible when he's fit, and hopefully in some goals and assists. But it's an exciting one. It's one that Derby County have signed a player for the future, really. I think in a year's time, it'll be really exciting to see where Patrick Adjumong is at with Derby County. We've also signed Blackburn Rovers captain, continuing the trend of signing former Blackburn Rovers players, Lewis Travis. Not quite sure what the fee was. We saw multiple different numbers being thrown about on social media when it was looking like he was going to sign. But I think a decent signing for Derby County, a player who's going to show his physicality in games. We know Derby County are a physical team. Be interesting to see how he lines up alongside Ibu Adams. But a player that John Eustace is really fond of, and a player that John Eustace speaks so highly of also off the pitch, which I think will be really important when Derby County are in this new John Eustace era and trying to shift the tactical style to the new one. And I think he's a player who's going to start many games for us this season, hopefully have a big impact on and off the pitch. We've also signed highly rated Scottish right-back Max Johnston from Sturm Graz for reported around £3.5 million. This is similar to the Ryan Brewster signing for me. Max Johnston is the young player who's going to get a number of first-team minutes in Derby County's team and probably almost look at Derby County like a stepping stone to go on to bigger and better things at a higher level in a higher division. And I've got no problem with that, really. I think we've signed a really highly rated player who's only going to get better with us the more minutes they get, and they are going to be a first choice in that right-back spot. And for £3.5 million, it's a lot of money for a right back. Derby brought in 5 loan signings as well. I've already talked about David Ozone. The most recent of them came in the day before deadline day in Ben Brereton Diaz, a player who at championship level for Blackburn Rovers has been a really prolific player for them in the past. Been named in, I think, the 2021-22 championship team of the season. I think he scored something like 22 goals in that season for Blackburn Rovers or something similar to that. He's had a bit of an up and down time since leaving Blackburn Rovers. He went to Villarreal in Spain, struggled for minutes there. He then went to on loan Sheffield United in the Premier League, did decently well. I think got 6 goals and a couple of assists in the second half of their Premier League campaign. He's then signed for Southampton, not really done well there, if I'm being completely honest. And then he's played for Sheffield United last season in the Championship and I think got something like 4 goals. He scored one of those goals at Pride Park. Derby, we've tried to play that 4-2-3-1 formation a couple of times. We expect Diaz to be on the left or right. Obviously, he prefers to be on the left-hand side. And a player at Championship level has been so prolific in the past for Blackburn Rovers. I remember him being one of the most talked about players in the division. And if he can regain that form at Derby County, it's exciting to think where we might end up at the end of the season. Our forward line is really shaping up into something prolific and exciting, where it's such a contrast from last season where players were playing in and out of positions, players that are out of form had to play because of injuries. Also signed left-back Owen Beck on loan from Liverpool, a position that we really needed some depth in. I'm sure he's going to push Callum Elder to be the first choice. Owen Beck, highly rated with a lot of potential. He was at Blackburn Rovers last season under John Eustace, and John Eustace loves a former player of his. And we've not yet been able to see Beck with him coming back for fitness from an injury, but it will be exciting when we do see him. We've also signed Bobby Clark on loan from Salzburg from Austria. Another player who come through at Liverpool, similar to Brewster, a player who's shown a lot of potential in the past, gone to Salzburg and struggled to really nail down a first team spot, and he's been quite sharp in the last few games that we've seen him. It looks like quite a talent. He scored against Burnley in the EFL Cup. Really neat goal, showed that high level quality to be able to touch it round defender and then chip the goalkeeper. And then away at Ipswich, I thought he looked a really bright spark as well there, and I'm really excited to see how he's going to perform. And that's what we lacked last season, somebody who was in that creative position in midfield and able to pull the strings and connect the midfield and the strikers, because last season we struggled for goals for open play, and I think this season it's going to be the opposite. I think we are going to score a number of goals, and when you've got somebody like Bobby Clark, who's very technically gifted, linking up with Ryan Brewster, Diaz, Morris, Adjumang when we see him come back, I think it can only bring positivity to Derby County's attacking areas. Derby have also brought in Dion Sanderson on loan from Birmingham City. Once again, another player who was on loan at Blackburn Rovers last season. And I think in the first couple of games, he come under some criticism. His performance levels weren't really there. I think he struggled to really get into the rhythm of the games. But in recent matches, he's looked really solid. Away at Burnley, I thought he was really good in the air, and then he was able to play some passes out from that central defence area. Also away at Ipswich, he was solid again. He's growing into games, and he looks like a really good player for Derby County. If we do play with 3 centre-backs, then he's going to be one of the first names on the team sheet alongside Matt Clark and Langas. And he seems a lot calmer on the ball than Langas and Clark, which I think is good. If Derby County want to play that brand of football with the ball on the floor, looking to build up through the middle, we need a centre-back who can play out from the back comfortably. And for me, Dion Sanderson almost looks like it. I think with each game he's getting better and better. And yes, he might have a drop-off in form once in a while, but I think it's a really positive move for Derby County to bring him in on loan, because I don't think he's going to get into Birmingham's team with the trajectory that they're on. And it could be an option at the end of maybe his loan that Derby County look to make it a permanent one. Now, why do I think Derby County have got this transfer window perfect? I think we've been able to move players on and on at the championship level that we need, and we've been able to bring in players that are probably going to exceed our own expectations in terms of what the season holds for us. I think a lot of Derby County fans said as long as we have a comfortable, safe finish in the championship, nothing like last season where it was brought down to the final day, then they'd be really optimistic. And I think we're in for quite an exciting season. I'm not going to get too confident, say we're going to be pushing for top 6 or anything silly like that, because I think we're a long way off that. But John Eustace and Derby County have been able to lay the foundations to really build something now. We've brought in positive signings that will be instrumental to our performance on the pitch next season. We've seen John Eustace go between 2 formations and adapt between them. You'd think his preferred formation is that 4-2-3-1 with 2 holding midfielders and then 3 attacking players in behind the striker. I think that will change because we've seen John Eustace prefer almost a 3-5-2 with 2 strikers up top and 5 in midfield if you include the wing backs and 3 centre backs. Derby, it's interesting to see how we're going to adapt. I think with the 4-2-3-1, we can try and play that at home, and I think away from home we'll go for the 3-5-2. With the players that we've signed, we've got a lot of depth in those positions as well, especially in those attacking areas. We've mainly signed players, I'd imagine, for that 4-2-3-1, with the likes of Ryan Brewster, Bobby Clark, and you've also got Ben Brereton Diaz who like to play out wide, so that would suit them in that formation. If they were playing in that 3-5-2, Brewster would have to go up top as a striker alongside either Morris or Adjimang. Diaz the same, which does then limit the game time that them players will have. But it's great to have these problems, and it's great to think about how Derby County can line up for this season coming in. And say, in January, I'm not too concerned about the business that we're going to have to do. The only way I'd be concerned is that if we end up losing one of our key players because they've performed so well in these first couple of months of the season. But it's going to be interesting to see. We've signed players with that technical quality who've played at a high level and could really help boost this team on. I'm excited about this season. I think we're going to have a decent finish and it's going to be a positive season. But let me know down below what you think of Derby County's transfer window and the season that we have ahead of us. If you have enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Follow my social medias down below. And I'll see you in the next one.